Alright guys, Jamie from the Abode Academy, and today we've got John in from JC Decorating. We're going to just explain to John about having extension bars on and different pressures. So when you're using your gun, anytime you add an extension bar to the gun, you are potentially adding spits to the end of the gun. So what actually happens is that when you let go of the trigger on the extension, the pressure actually finishes at the gun and carries on down the extension, which creates a spit. So the bigger the extension, the bigger the spit will be created. So if you had a 32-inch extension on, then again, that would be more of a section for it to travel, creating a bigger spit. Generally, we are spraying on off the surface anyway, so the spits would either go onto something like paper or onto a wall that you were going to roll. So not generally on off the surface, so the spits won't really matter. So with the pressure of the machine, we've got it set too low at the moment for this tip. I'm using a 310, which is a gold tip from Tritech, which is an ultra fine finish tip, and this is what I'm using for most of my woodwork most of the time. So we've got the pressure set at about 600 psi. That is way too low, but I'll just show you what that means. I'm not wearing a mask in the video because I'm obviously talking, but obviously if you're spraying, you want to be wearing a mask. You'll see it is tailing both sides. There is just not good coverage throughout the centre there. It's just quite spitty. Some paints you'll end up with really dense lines on the end there, but it's quite a nice paint to spray. This is a Sherwin-Williams, but yeah, again, it's not levelling out very nice. It means the pressure needs to go up. So what I'm going to do is actually put the pressure up a little bit more. So that's now on about 850 psi. And when you're spraying, you'll be about sort of, I would say, anywhere between 10 and 12 inches away. So instantly you can see the difference between the two. But I still think these edges still look a bit speckled, so I want to try and go up a little bit more. So what I say is when the tails are gone, I always take it a little bit further, so maybe like 200 psi difference. So if you're looking at that now, so you'll be looking at about 1200 psi, I'd say between 1200 and 1500 psi for woodwork, I think. So what I'll do is I'll turn it up a little bit more now and see if it makes a difference. Okay, so it's about 1300 psi now. And you can just instantly see now the difference between the three. More solid in the middle there, but what I think most people do is they stop there because the tails have gone. But if you just take it that little bit further, see John, you can just see the difference between the three there. One's more solid than the other two. So at that point then, I always say, find your pressure and then just tweak it a little bit more because you could probably get it a little bit better. I think that with spraying, I see people trying to spray at the lowest pressures, but I don't think it atomizes properly. I think you're better off actually putting the pressure a little bit higher, getting it to atomize a lot nicer. Have a play around with it on some paper, but in general, take your pressure to the tails have gone and just go a couple of hundred psi difference and just watch the difference it makes, and then obviously write that down, and that with that product and the temperature of the day you're spraying also will make a difference, and then you can start working out what pressures for what products. With woodwork, I never thin the material. The reason behind that is because I don't want to compromise the paint on woodwork. Emulsions I do thin slightly, probably about 5%, just enough to get it through the spray a little bit easier. But with thinning woodwork, I think it runs at the best of times, so you don't really want to give it any other chance to run. So the paints we use, you don't need to thin them. If you're using like a Sherwin-Williams or like a Sayalac, or anything like a Renner, you don't generally have to thin the paints. They're designed for spraying. So I think that as it comes in the tin, that is how you spray it. Do not compromise it with water. I know there's people out there saying thin your paint down, blah de blah, but at the end of the day is the more you thin the paint, the less the paint's working, and if you're putting more water into wood, it's not really working.